Hello, and you're very welcome to the JMac podcast. I'm John Man. Of course, the podcast brought to you by Atak.com and Atak.ie. Use the promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on Atak.com. Get the best skills, gloves, equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. It's All Ireland football final week, lads, and we are absolutely buzzing for the week ahead. It's Monday. We're a couple of days out from the All Ireland final. It's happening on Sunday. It's Kerry against Galway, and it's business time. This is what we're waiting for. It's July. It's All Ireland final time. It's hard to believe, but look, we have to play with the cards we've been dealt with. I will start off with Johnny Murta. How are you keeping?
I'm good, John. Thanks very much. Yeah, looking forward to a big week. Good to see the lads here. Good to see Finn. Glad he's on. Kev's keeping good as always, and that's a very attractive jersey there. Young Matty Ford is on, so looking forward to the chat here. I think the buzz will be good.
Happy days. It's good to see you as well, my man. Matty Ford, Wexford's greatest son. How are you keeping?
Good, John. Just like to thank Johnny there. It's not often you hear attractive, young, and me all in the same sentence. So I'm really delighted with that start tonight. So if the rest of us is good as that, I'll be happy. No, look at all good. It only seems like the other day the championship started, and now we're on here for the Ireland final. So, but look at it was we knew the story before the start of the year. So yeah, look at it. It's always an exciting week. It's an exciting week for football fans, and with the hurling just over, I suppose all the focus now is on the football, and a big week coming in. And just listening to Finian there off air, just your Galway scene sounds like it's buzzing, and probably lots of other parts of the country as well. So look at here's to a good week and a dry week, and at the end of it a really good game, hopefully.
Lovely jersey. It looks like it's been under a bit of pressure though. No,
John. The tight fit jersey. They're not something you know a whole lot about. But no, I'm lucky. I still have me youthful Wexford figure from 08. So I'm happy enough here. Lots of room in it still, so not too bad.
Beautiful, Mr. Hanley. How are you, sir? Have you slept?
I'm great, John. Great. I'm sleeping like a baby. Absolutely. I have 3 young kids, so when I get a chance to sleep, I'm in good shape. So I need all the sleep I can get for this week and next week. But I'm very, very happy at the minute. We're having a good buzz over here. Sun is shining. It's tropical, and we're getting ready for a big week. It's unusual. Because obviously a long time since we were in a final, and wasn't old enough to have a pint the last time. So we're really enjoying this week. There's a good build up. There's good buzz. There's flags, banners, bunting. Everything is happening in town. So even the tourists are joining in. There's a lot of Galway jerseys on Chinese people and Spanish people and all that sort of crack. So it's a great buzz.
Absolutely good stuff. It's delighted to hear it's all going well up in the West, and I'm joined by Peter Andre tonight. How are you keeping?
All good. So I suppose 2 things. It's been a great day for the ice cream men in Cavan, miserable bastards usually, but I suppose that they've got a few quid there today. And I'm jealous of the 3 guys that we're joined with. Matty's top. Jealous that Johnny isn't as good looking as me. And I suppose I'm jealous that Paddy Tally is going to have a better social life than me in the next week and a half. So really looking forward to this chat. Really
That'd be some social life, wouldn't it?
I know. Really great to have Finian on, and really looking forward to it because it's great to have Galway back. I have to admit from the very start I wrote them off at the start of the year, and you know what? It's class to have them back. One of the great traditionals back in the All Ireland final, and you know what? Let's get into it.
Happy days. And was there no only size small t-shirt or shirts left in Dunnes Stores, Kev?
No, I don't know. I think Matty's wearing the Bomber Listens top from 1984, and so he was the one that advised me on it. He's my fashion designer, so there you go. John, by the way, if viewers are watching in and you are on YouTube, get onto my Twitter and maybe look at your own self. You're not exactly a slim guy, or your BMI is not exactly very small. So let's wish for better days for yourself. Okay, moving forward. Thanks. Bye.
If your IQ, John, was half your BMI, you'd be flying it.
Oh, you're a crowd of wankers. Right, before we crack into this podcast, Shane Roach has stepped down from the Wexford job. No massive surprises, I suppose. Obviously, Wexford have been struggling the last couple of years, but Matty Ford, I believe you've put your name in the hat for the job.
Absolutely not. Look at his fair play to Roach. He took it on as probably the youngest manager in the country, I'd say, and he came in and stepped into the breach when Paul left, and it's a pretty thankless job at the moment. It's to say only as far as 13, 14 years ago, Wexford in an Ireland football semi-final, but we're more than light years away from that at the moment, and getting out Division 4 looks probably beyond Wexford at the moment. So look, I'm sure obviously somebody will be lined up and somebody will come in and do it, but I don't believe for one second a JP McManus type figure will sort out all the problems. But getting the proper support and the proper structures in Wexford is far more important than getting maybe even a high profile manager at this stage. And you're only as good as your foundation, and for football at the moment we certainly haven't got it. So it's look at somebody, like we're talking off air, Johnny said somebody will come in and somebody will do it. Obviously they always do, but it's a really tough gig for anyone, because as I said, if you don't have structure and you don't have foundation, you can't have anything going forward. You look at like Limerick is a perfect example. The 1-3 under-21s back, probably 2013, 14, 15 along there, and they're seeing the fruits of it now, along with plenty of other stuff that they've done, obviously. But you can't build a house on a foundation of sand. So I think that's where Wexford football is at the moment, and you need something solid at the base.
Kev, what about yourself?
No, I think Molly's 100% very, very similar to Antrim. I always use the analogy when I'm talking to people in Antrim about a house. Molly said about sand. I said about, look, we're trying to deal with the roof. We're trying to put money into the senior team, which is the roof. Realistically, we need to build the foundations. So money needs to go back into, coaching in the clubs. There's a lot to be said, John, about good coaching. And I suppose where Matty is now, his county is very, very similar to my county at the minute. Where, look, we have a lot of things to deal with. Schools, clubs, good coaching, before you even think about it. And I keep on going back, John, to the thing that was on BBC about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, when Martin McHugh, who had been in Cavan, famously said, Cavan need to go back to their clubs and schools before they can come back up and compete. And they went away and they done that. And look, they won an Ulster Championship a couple of years ago. And that's where it comes. It's not rocket science, this, John.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's going to be a hard job for anybody to take on. It's going to be a brave man to take it on. But I think Matty is 100% right. And again, the last point I'll make is I put it into the WhatsApp group last week. Look where Derry are. And that's just not about Rory Gallagher and the players that have come through. Derry had a plan. And I sent it into the WhatsApp group. Chris Collins is, I think he's head of coaching development up there. They've had a long-term plan about schools, about clubs, about good coaching within the clubs. The blueprint's there. Follow it, and you will get somewhere.
What about yourself, Johnny?
Yeah, I think the lads have hit the nail on the head on it. It's not easy. The big thing for me would probably be, and I wouldn't have that great idea about the Wexford situation, but from the offset would be that you have a big clash there with the hurling, and it seems to be that in a lot of these counties you would have the main resources going into the hurling, and there's not really a whole pile thought about the football until the latter end. As Kev alluded to there, putting the bloody roof on. You need to get it into the foundations, that development squad level. That's where it has to go. And it's countless and countless hours of countless time. Like I said to Matty off air, I do think somebody will come in and take it. Probably promise the sun, moon, and stars, and to have that in place and the other in place, and probably get a few months in and they'll start to see that they don't just have as much in place as they thought, and they're put in an awkward situation. And that does happen, at even lots of good clubs. That does happen, and it happens in some county jobs as well. And listen, lads, there's no coincidence. There's an awful lot of gigs that's coming up, left, right, and centre across the board. It's a tough job, and it's definitely not for everybody. And I think the expectations on some of these counties is absolutely crazy. We were just alluding to off air as well about chatting about sports psychologists, and you're getting strength and condition coaches in, and they want GPS systems, and it's all the state of the art stuff of professional level, but you're trying to run it off a shoestring budget. It's just, it doesn't add up. At the end of the day, you need the talent, and you have to put it into the grassroots, and that's where you have to start. So it's going to be a tough gig for whoever puts a hat in the ring anyway. Hopefully they go to somebody in-house, and you never know, Matty could be the man to unite the whole clan right down there, so he's favoured for a reason. So
yeah, 3-1 with the buggies.
yeah, I was thinking
Yeah.
that, so it'd be good to see.
Yeah.
Paddy Power just tweeted in the last hour. So they did.
Oh, sure. Look, lads, lump on 3-1. That's serious fucking odds because it's going to be shortened significantly over the coming days. I'd say once to make a statement.
What about the expenses, buddy?
Yeah, the expense. Yeah, you won't get him. That's probably the biggest thing about him to start with. If I went to coach,
been there, buddy. Been there.
If I went to coach the hurlers or something, I'm still owed expenses and doing a big coach in the local community school about 10 years ago. So I'm not holding out much hope on getting them either. But no, look at it. It's pretty much been summed up by the three of us, I think, at this stage. Our team, strangely enough, around the 05, 6, 7, 8 was a bit of an anomaly because there was actually nothing. That team was based on nothing other than a really good group came at one time. We'd won nothing underage. The lads above us and a few younger lads that came below us actually won nothing. We just actually happened to have an exceptional, really good group of players at the one time, and ended up beating a lot of the top teams in the country between National League, Division 1 and Championship over a 3 or 4 year period. But that was a complete once off. And what Kev is saying, or what he was saying off air about core skills and basic skills, it's something that's seriously lacking in football in Wexford. So at the moment, we have a championship in Ireland being ran off groups of 6, so you play 5 games, quarter-final, semi-final, final. So 8-9 weeks of hurling, you go straight into the football. So with basically every fella playing hurling and football, a lot of teams are getting maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks preparation going into the play senior football championship or playing whatever level championship they're playing at. And you look at the Kerrys, you look at the Armaghs, you look at these lads who don't pick up a hurl. They're playing football full time, and I'm not saying they can't master it, but at that rate of going, Kerry should win the Football of Ireland every year because they don't have an interference from hurling. But it's just not that simple. So if you have a guy probably playing hurling 60% of the time and probably more, your county football team is at nothing, and that's exactly where we're at.
Lastly, Mr. Finian Hadley.
Yeah, it's not an easy one, but it's interesting from our point of view now because if you look at Galway are in the All Ireland final on Sunday. In the hurling, we put Limerick to the pin of their collar in the semi-final. We've won the minor, right? And you guys and the others will be looking at me going, "Fucking Galway's blazing the trail here." But to Maddie's point, we're the worrying thing for Galway is not what happens on Sunday, it's what happens after. We won in 01 and there was no structures and no foundations. Didn't get to a semi-final for 20 years. We've shy facilities, the coaching, we've no schools team. We've one schools team in A in Galway. The coaching, Jarlath, and they're not even competing. So, we've got no connectivity between the coach and the Galway development coaches, there's fuck all of them anyhow, and the schools. The facilities, the hurlers and the footballers train on 2 of the worst pitches in the Western world. Do you know what I mean? And both of them are in the All-Ireland semi-final. So to Maddie's point, we've got a good group. We've got a driven manager. We've got lads trying, PJ's off trying to make his own few bob for the team and stuff like that. But this isn't built on any great master plan to win a minor and possibly, have a chance of winning an All-Ireland senior in 1 year. It's massive success. And I suppose the reason we're so excited this week is that this is a once-off. And the people who have been inside and know, like myself, it's not built on any great county board. We've got a loan and an absolute, we're hemorrhaged in for this land. We bought in Athenry for the hurlers. The hurlers have now come and take over the football ground. There's it's divided. We're half and half. So we are punching. What the boys have done this year in the hurling and football is absolutely astronomical, lads, given the facilities and given the setup. So, to the point, we need to do that as well in Galway, even though we're in the final. And I agree with Kev as well that you need to put the foundations in place. The big Dublin did it, Limerick did it, Tyrone are starting to do it. So it's the same across the board, but you don't, it's not all about money, it's about having the right people in to do it. And I think Wexford obviously, as the lad said, need to go back and look at that get someone in who wants to go be there for 4 or 5 years and really build the thing and start looking from the ground up.
John, can I just say quickly that when we talk about the structure or whatever else, and we look at Wexford, or maybe we look at Antrim, or even Johnny looks maybe the past 10 years at Armagh. I was very, very fortunate to have a cup of coffee with one of the greats in the GAA, Sean O'Neill, team of the century, full forward, great down man. And I sat with him for 3 hours, and he talked to me about how poor Tyrone were in the 1960s and 70s. They weren't even competing, and they got their house in order. And Finian's just said it there, Tyrone are now every year they're competing. because their structures are right. But more important than that, when you have structures right in clubs, and Johnny knows this because Johnny's coaching, you also got to have hell of a good coaches as well. It's all right having structures right. You got to have good coaches to back that up. Tyrone were nothing in the 50s, nothing in the 60s, nothing in the 70s. In the early 80s, they were nothing. And all of a sudden, they come 86. And when you look at that Tyrone that came in 86 as their senior team, they haven't stopped minor under 21 since then. They've been winning every couple of years. They've been in an All-Ireland final every couple of years. Structures are right. Coaches are right. But most importantly, and I'm not just saying this because my father's involved in also schools are right. And that's a massive thing, and to hear Finian talk about Jarlath and Tuam, we all know about Jarlath and Tuam, a great school, right? But it's only one school. We need them backed up and backed up and backed up. And Johnny knows all about the down schools, about, the Abbey and Uri and Coleman's, So that's so important. It's not only about structure, it's about coaching good teachers in schools.
Yeah, absolutely correct, Kev. Absolutely correct. We echo a lot of that, and obviously we wish Shane Roach the very best luck in his future endeavours. It was no mean feat, and he done a good job with the Wexford lads, but it's up to the next man to take control. So we'll move on to this weekend's action, lads. It's hard to believe we've only one game left of the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship. This year has absolutely flown by, but there you go. It's one game to go. It's Kerry against Galway. It's Croke Park, 3:30, and the game is going to be live on RTE. So here we go, lads. This is what it's all about. The Kingdom. Obviously, favourites going into it, but Galway will have a lot to say about that as well. But what do we think of Mr. Hanley? Are we confident?
Yeah, I suppose it's a head and heart kind of a scenario, really, isn't it? Look, Kerry are full value. Galway are 10-3, I think, are they?
Yeah.
Something like that or whatever. So look, the bookies are probably right. Kerry have blitzed all before them this year. Dublin came back, but I think they were still kind of full value for the win. And before that, then they've come through. They've won the league. They've won Munster. They're very, very strong. This is their time. They have to win this match. And I suppose the big hope for Galway on Sunday, without trying to be a cute Kerry or a cute Galway man or anything like that, the big hope for Galway is the pressure on Kerry. I think there's massive pressure on this Kerry team. And you could see it in the Dublin game where they were just thinking, fuck, if we don't win this, lads, like you have to be a 3, 4, 5 All-Ireland medal winner in Kerry to be respected. Do you know what I mean? And these lads can't get over the line the first time. If they lose this, you saw what happened against Cork a couple of years ago against Dublin. It's nearly 10 years since they won the All-Ireland. And we saw what happened from 86 to 97. Like those teams were lambasted. And they still are in Kerry as kind of, failures. And I think, the likes of Clifford and these guys, for all their talent, if they don't get over the line on Sunday, which they should, Jesus, the backlash in Kerry won't be, the mob won't be kind to these guys. So hopefully that pressure gets to them and our boys can kind of stay in the game 50, 60 minutes. And you just don't know that bit of pressure. If we can keep that pressure on up to the 60th minute, they'll start feeling the heat and the lack of pressure on our boys. Obviously PJ will instill that belief, but the lack of pressure on our boys might just let us go out and finish a bit stronger, So, scientifically Kerry should win and win well, but, finals, as Brian Cody says, take on a life of their own and, sending off a Hawkeye mistake, which which is kind of a common theme at the minute. You just don't know. A slip, anything can happen. So, we're enjoying the buzz up here at the minute. There's not a huge amount of optimism that we're going to turn Kerry. But look, as I said, you just don't know what can happen in the day. And with Pádraig at the helm, his belief is just going to absolutely be instilled in these boys. So hopefully it shines through.
Definitely. I suppose looking into that as well, Kerry probably, as I was saying to the lads earlier on the week, Kerry haven't maybe got out of second gear yet, Finian. So I think there is a huge chance for this Galway team. When you have Damien Comer in the form he's in at the minute, that gives you a huge chance.
It does, yeah, it does. I suppose it depends on how Galway's set up. I'd be interested to hear the boys' views on this. But, look, we're going to be defensive on Sunday. There's no doubt about it. Who's going to pick up, there's big talk, who's going to pick up Clifford. I myself think that it'll be a Kerr-Finn sandwich on Sunday with Liam Silk shadowed by Kieran Malloy. You know, just standing in front. I think that would work. You know, Sean Kelly's playing full back, but it's not his game. You know, he didn't mark him in the Sigerson final. We need Sean when we turn the ball over going forward. So I think we'd be willing to sacrifice Liam and put Kieran in front of him, but we will be defensive. We will have a lot of bodies behind the ball, and as I said, we'd be hoping to stay in the game and cut these guys on the counter. Robert Finnerty, my own clubmate, would be closest to the Kerry goal, I would say, and we look to, you know, we'd be looking to pick them off in a fight, you know, 4-3, 4-4, 5-4. You know, for the first 20, 25 minutes. So as long as we can frustrate these guys and put a bit of doubts in their head, maybe we have a chance. But look, Kerry have huge artillery, and the problem with Kerry is the bench. They have a much stronger bench than Galway, and coming down the stretch, you know, we're bringing on Billy Mannion, you know, a utility player. We're bringing on you know, Carl Sweeney and these guys, young guys, whereas they've got Killian Spillane, Tony Brosnan, lads that will make most teams in the country. So that's worrying from our point of view. But look, you just, as I said, you just don't know.
And Finney, I suppose, can you believe you are in this position now? And obviously, look, All-Ireland finals, it can be once in a lifetime opportunities. Like at the start of the year, like an All-Ireland final for Galway, you know, you wouldn't have said that at the start of the year.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I just think, you know, back to the point, there's been a lot of unrest over the winter in Galway because, you know, obviously we came off the back of two fairly poor years. And no identity really. Obviously Porrick came in with a plan, and that has been kind of shelved because of reality and the reality of the players. You know, we don't have the backs to stand and go toe to toe. We need to be. We have a lot of footballers, but we don't have those dogs. A lot of those have gone. So I think in the winter time there was a bit of, where the hell is this going, or what are we going to do next, or whatever it is. And after the league final, then it was, Jesus Christ, we're after sent a voicemail. Someone's after ringing me there, lad. Sorry.
Porrick Joyce.
They're looking for pints.
You're the most wanted man. You and Michael Meehan are the most wanted men in Galway this week.
I might nip in for a couple after this. I might take the podcast into the pub. Where was I? No, look, but there was a bit of unrest, and obviously we spoke about the league final, and obviously the way we lost, the way we got relegated to Monaghan last year, these last kick of the games, and that fragility that's in the team. So, no, did I expect us to be in an All-Ireland final? Certainly not. We hadn't been we've been in one semi-final for 21 years. So this is not based on any structures like we're talking on. This is based on, you know, a bit of luck. You need a bit of luck. Obviously, you know, we got over Armagh, that bit of belief. And when you get over Mayo in a tight game, you know, anything can happen because you have a good chance of winning Connacht. And if you win Connacht and you're playing an Armagh and Derry team that haven't been, you know, in all fairness, they haven't been world beaters in the last few years. So look, we fancy ourselves against both those teams. So look, we are where we are. It's absolutely, you know, we deserve to be there this year, but like on another year, you could be gone in the first round. So, you know, going back to the point that the lads are making, we don't go to Galway matches in the last couple of years with any level of, it's like Tyrone. We know what we're going to get. We know the performance, or Dublin, or Kerry, or Kilkenny. We go with hope, and that has been the problem because it's not based on a whole pile of structures. So, you know, we're going again on Sunday with hope, you know.
Yeah, really looking forward to it, Finn. I hope they can potentially do the job for you. You really would deserve it. Matty Ford, what are your thoughts going into this All-Ireland football final 2022?
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised at the betting. I actually thought it would have been a bit closer. Like as we said, Kerry haven't really shot the lights out. Like I know they mentioned yesterday about Limerick, like they left to save their biggest performance for the biggest day, but they've had some other good performances. Kerry haven't, you know, again the bigger teams certainly run up a big score again, Limerick and Cork, but as we said, like, you know, they're bottom half Division 2/Division 3 teams, you know, no disrespect to them, but that was kind of expected. But, you know, they didn't exactly shoot the lights out in the quarter final, and then obviously, you know, I think they did deserve to win the semi-final, but again, like 113, 114, that may not be good enough actually to win the final at the weekend. But like I absolutely give Galway a chance here. With the calibre forwards they have, Kerry will give Galway chances. There's no doubt about this. And like you look at the Galway full forward line is probably every bit as impressive as the Kerry one. You know, Finnerty, Shane Walsh and Comer have racked up serious scores this year between the league and the championship, and like in one-on-one they will cause huge problems. Like I'd be guessing probably Tom Sullivan will pick up Finnerty. I'd say, you know, probably it looks like Jason Foley would be the most obvious one for Comer, but you know, Graham O'Sullivan on Shane Walsh, you know, one-on-one there. Well, Shane Walsh one-on-one with anyone, But that's certainly nearly go advantage Galway there if they can get ball in. But what Finian is saying is dead right. They have to keep it tight to start with, and I thought they probably have been accused a little bit over the last 4 or 5 or maybe even 10 years of having a bit of a soft underbelly. But I think they maybe put that to bed against Armagh, particularly against Derry. They were really, really mean against Derry, and they caused a huge amount of turnovers. So if they're as well organised at the back again, but it's on turnovers and it's on breaks where Kerry really try to hurt teams, where they want to kick the ball long, and even if there is a sweeper in front of Clifford, the right kind of ball, it's very, very hard to stop them winning it. And I think the weather is definitely going to play a part. At the moment, the forecast for the weekend is not hectic, and Kerry traditionally are not brilliant in bad weather. The little things, just we must mention off air, just basic skills, hand passing a little bit below lads' feet or down at lads' feet, and just bad wides and stuff like that. So I don't see it being as clear cut as kind of a lot of people are thinking it are. I do think probably Kerry will come out with eventually, but I don't see it being a 5-6 point win or anything like that. And look, I could be completely wrong. Maybe they're going to save a huge performance for the final day, but I think they have every bit as much to worry about with that Galway full forward line as well to have the other way around, to be honest.
Watching clips of the 2008 Kerry Galway game in Croke Park as well, Manny, one of the games of the century. Michael Meehan put on an absolute show. He was just unbelievable that day. Similar type performance from Shane Walsh, Damien Comer this Sunday. Expected, needed probably.
Needed, yeah, I would say needed, absolutely. Or if Finnerty is well capable of doing that either. Realistically, as regards scoring threat, it's the three of those who are going to carry the main part of it. Obviously, lads will chip in, Paul Connery will chip in, Matthew Tierney will chip in, Johnny Heaney's chip in with invaluable scores throughout the year so far. But it's the three of those that's obviously going to have to do the bulk of it. I'm sure Kerry aren't going to be as silly as to keep leaving one-on-ones. And we've spoke about him a few times this year. Tyg Morley, who has been more than happy enough to sit back and cover off Ternaz, actually has really, really improved in my opinion. I think he's been really, really good at it all year. But their one-on-one defending has improved immeasurably since Paddy Tally has went in there, and they do hunting packs as well, and they've even started doing it from the forward back. So look, it's intriguing. There's so many intriguing one-on-one battles. The midfield battle, the kick, it's just they're everywhere, and we could name out probably the two teams that'll start, and each individual battle is nearly as exciting as the next. What Galway do in the full back line with regards to two Cliffords and probably Paul Geaney, who was quite the last day. He's well capable of scoring 4 or 5 points in play. So you take your eye off one and somebody else pops up. And like Finian has exactly said, it's what they're bringing on is the problem, because you can maybe contain them boys for 45, 55, 60 minutes, but you're bringing on the likes of Brosnan and Spillans and that, and it's very hard to keep plugging the dam for 75 or maybe even 80 minutes, as a lot of matches are going to now. But I do think it's intriguing. I think it's going to be an intriguing battle, both tactically and every other way. And it's as you might have guessed, I'm a bit of a Kerry fan, but to be honest, Galway absolutely would be my second team outside of Kerry, obviously after Wexford. I love watching that Galway team of 2001, with the likes of Porrig and Jaff Fallon and Michael Meehan, and you can just keep going. Just a joy to watch. Very, very similar to Kerry, and I think that's why we've seen an absolute classic in Croke Park that time, because you had two teams who wanted to just go play football, guys all over the field, so comfortable on the ball, and we're going to have exactly the same on Sunday in terms of having a lot of footballers on the field.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Mr. Johnny Murda, what are your thoughts ahead of this game on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. The lads have touched on a lot of stuff there, the matchups and that. That's a big thing for me is the Paddy Tally factor. They just carry defence. They've taken an awful lot of heat. I'd be very friendly down in Kerry, a lot of friends there, and as the boys alluded to, there's no back doors down there. It's a wee bit like my home club. There'd be no messing around, and if you didn't perform, you're out of order. You'd be told on the spot, and it's ruthless business down there to take it extremely seriously. And them boys would have got hard, very, very hard criticism down there the last few years. And they've kept fighting, they've kept battling. They've put structures in place. Coming in before the All-Ireland final, you had Tom O'Sullivan, you had Gavin White, you had Morley, we talked about, Foley. These guys have upped their game. Unbelievable. Probably one of them would have been pushing for maybe player of the year. I'd say off a guess, I think they maybe conceded 2 goals maybe in the championship. Would that be right?
Yes, Darren McCurry and Cormac Costello.
Penalty maybe, was it?
No.
So
yeah,
like that's the big thing for me. Galway's going to need, like, yes, Como the last day, and the physical battle is going to be in there. I'm really looking forward to it. Galway's going to need goals. They're definitely going to need goals. A big Kerry, and like I said, it looks like Kerry's got their house in order. Like Tally has put a bit of steel in the fence, a bit of organisation into it. And it's not just that. They're still fit to break free and get up and get the odd score. They're dangerous at that as well, especially the attacking half backs. Another big one for me was the last day was the right call, was putting Barry back in the midfield again, Dublin. He had a serious game, on his old mate Fenton. What midfield are they going to play this weekend? Are they going to change it up again? That's going to be something that probably could have a big toll on the game as well. So, and then you get to the forward line. Like, I have a lot of time for Galway, and I wouldn't be sticking the boot in, Finn, but I can see this Kerry team really opening up, and I've been saying it from the start of the year. I thought the attitude was different down there. They were hurting badly. They were hurting real bad, and they've made big decisions down there last year. Like I said at the start of the year, when getting Pat O'Sullivan back in as the county chairman, these boys are not messing around. These boys know what it takes to get over the line, know the resources it takes to get over the line, and everything was put into this. And Jack O'Connor back just said it all. Paddy Tally down the road, they knew what they needed to fix, and they went about fixing it. They went about getting the resources. The Kerry draw, the house draw is flying as well. They've really hit this hard to get the resources behind the team and push it on. And that's the factor. We talked about it there off air with Limerick. You're putting all these things in place. And Finnegan hit the nail on the head there. You're going down with hope. When you don't have them resources in place, it's very hard to tackle at the top. You're going to need it. You're going to need a slice of luck. You're going to need something really, really special from a couple of players. For me, the last day, I thought Walsh was a wee bit quiet. Very good on dead ball. From play, he was quiet. He was well marshalled. Donegal defender played him rightly. I was very impressed though with the kick frees off both feet. Very silky player. That's not going to be enough. For me, it's not going to be enough. We're going to need to see that the Shane Walsh, for me, is going to need to have the game of his life. It's okay. Lots of different people saying he's the mustard, he's top business. And he is. He's a silky player, lovely to watch, still hanging out of him. But he's going to need to produce it now, and the chips is down. Him and Comer's going to need to carry this Galway forward line, I think, on their back. The guys, like Matty alluded to, they'll chip in, they'll get a few scores, and that's fine. But an All-Ireland final day, you need your big players to stand up. That's one thing about me and had in his locker. He would stand up. He'd never give in. The runs he'd make, he would just not stop. So they're going to need that from Walsh. And I'm going to be interested to see if he steps up to the mark. Because the other end, you can be guaranteed Clifford's going to do enough. Shawnee O'Shea's going to do enough. Them boys always chip in, constantly chipping in with big scores. Paddy Clifford's, that's another man you could be easily talking for a shoe-in for player of the year, the way he's playing. Brownie's covering, probably I'd say he's having a bit 2K over everybody else on the Kerry team. He just does not stop. And you just seen in the last 10 minutes of that game, he was still hungry for more, in the semi-final. So look at another probably factor that I think Galway's that Galway's going to be missing is that they're going to be missing a man like Finian on the square. And that for me could be a problem that's going to unfold on Sunday. Like they would have seen the Armagh game. they would have seen a wee bit of pandemonium later on with the high ball in. And the difference, Armagh had one or two, Rain, big high ball option in there and can catch ball. But Kerry has a load of them boys. You can, as the boy said, you can launch a ball in from 60 yards into Clifford, and he's going to get something on it, or he's going to cause you bother. And you can have a couple of sweepers there. Sean O'Shea can go to the edge of the square. Sometimes he does. Gainey for me the last day was extremely quiet, extremely off. I do think he'd start. He's another big presence that they can put on the edge of the square. So for me, Galway could be just missing a man like Finn that used to be there in full back position to take control there. And I just think there could be one man short, but I would be fearful of Galway. I hope I'm wrong. I want to see a good All-Ireland final. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going up. I can't wait. And the crack in Galway will be mighty, as it always is, best we place in Ireland. But I just hope the game's still there, John, with 15 minutes to go, and the Kerry's not giving them a roasting, because I think the monkey's off the back now with Dublin, and I think they could open up. The Ferrari could pour, and that's what I'd be fearful of that for Galway.
Like that one, the Ferrari could pour. Mr. Murtagh, obviously, if you're watching any clips back of the 08 Kerry Galway game, the rain, the wind. We've lost Kev. We'll be back in a second or out. The wind, absolutely. We'll need a kind of a Michael Meehan performance that day. It was unbelievable. We'll need a kind of similar performance like that from maybe the likes of Comer, Finnerty, or Mr. Walsh this weekend, Johnny.
Definitely, you're going to need it. It's topsy-turvy with the weather. You could get the rain on Saturday. You get it on Sunday. You don't know what you're going to get. It's a mixed bag of tricks, and it's 32 or 33 degrees up in Armagh here today. So, it's look at the weather's the weather. As the boys know, you play in all conditions. It's going to be the same for each team. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, like these players that you just mentioned there, they're going to have to bring something special for me. And that's the long and the short of it. And we can dress it up whatever way we want, but they're going to have to bring special. And you know what? Special players do. On All-Ireland final day, they bring it. We've seen it over the years. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope they hit top gear. It'll make one hell of a game. It's going to be interesting to see. I really want to see Walsh. I really hope that he can step up to the mark. I think he's a class act. Comer does what Comer does. He's a battering ram. He takes an awful marshalling. He's as strong as a horse. And if he gets half a chance, he'll put the ball in through the net. Never mind. So, you know what to get from him. But the other boys have a bit more silk, a bit more class, and they're going to need to be very creative and show a bit of magic here for me on Sunday.
Absolutely. And so who you expect the magic from? Obviously, David Clifford's had a very good championship so far, Johnny, and obviously Paddy Clifford's gone through an outrageous amount of work. And in fairness, back in January, February, you were talking to me about Sean O'Shea being as probably one of the best players in Ireland. He's really living up to that mantle.
Yeah, well, he's one of these players I found with Shawnee that he can play in midfield, do a job. He can play a centre-half forward, probably at the minute the best centre-half forward maybe in Ireland. You can put him in at full forward when Clifford was injured there in a few games, still coming off the field with maybe 1-6, 1-7. He's one of these players. And one thing that people don't realise about him is he's extremely physical. And people don't realise that. He's very, very physical. If you look at the amount of turnovers he gets in games, and many times he dispossessions in the middle third, he has a serious work rate. That's why I said after there last week again Dublin, for me he's the best all-round footballer in Ireland at the minute. Yes, you have Clifford as the stuff inside, but Clifford can't go out to midfield and do what he does. Clifford doesn't have that work rate that he does, them dispossessions. He has this wand of a left foot and it's unbelievable. And when he gets rolling, it's unbelievable to watch. But that doesn't win you All-Irelands on its own. You need the rest. He needs Paddy doing the donkey walk. He's going to need Shawnee to do a massive amount of donkey walk and heavy lifting. When the game was in the melting pot again, Dublin, one man stood up to be counted, and it was long before the free. He went out. He knew he was a bit quiet. He was well marshalled for the first 15, 20 minutes. But when the chips was down, and that's how you know a player, he knew he had to win that ball, and straight away he took on his man. He asked the question, the defender. He asked him the question, "What are you going to do?" And he fouled him. Got the score over the bar, and then sure, what can you say about that? The winner, absolutely outrageous, and that's a man, that's a man that's going to take stopping now. That's just, we've seen it. It's just different level. We've seen it with the likes of Rain. Rain has that class. He just doesn't have enough help like Kerry has. Whereas I'd even think Shawnee at the minute is a way above Rain. He's just on a different planet. It'd be interesting to hear what the boys think. I just think his all round ability is and what he brings at Kerry is ferocious. And when Kerry was winning All Irelands, they always had renown for unbelievable long distance free takers, and guess what? Here's another one. So it's a trend.
Yeah, Brian Sheehan would be very proud of Sean O'Shea at the minute. And obviously, Maddie, Sean O'Shea, he's playing the football of his life at the minute.
Yeah, it is hard to disagree with Johnny. He's just to see him up close in that Kerry Mayo game. He just showed some touches and flashes of absolute brilliance. And then again, the last take in Dublin. But like Johnny said, he can play probably anywhere from 8 to 15 and be absolutely comfortable. His football intelligence is just second to none. And like that, not the free to win, but the one before that at the end, he just knows what to do and when to do it and how to do it. And then obviously to be able to do it more importantly. And he is this is going to be a big factor. I mentioned earlier that Galway got a huge amount of turnovers against Derry in the semi-final, but giving frees away on Sunday is a complete no-no, because this guy will kick frees anywhere from inside 50 yards, like they're 21-yard frees, and not too dissimilar to probably Shane Walsh on the other side, but O'Shea just doesn't seem to miss, and you see him every day coming off 7 points, 8 points, 1-7. And plus he can, like Johnny says, he can do all the dirty stuff as well. He is the complete package, and I said his game intelligence is just second to none. And I've said it about Paddy Clifford, I think, the last day, but the understanding that the two Cliffords and him have together is a bit scary, and to just really play off each other and sometimes just make it look ridiculously easy. And he done a couple of things just against Mayo that day, where I was actually sitting looking at him live, and you're just going, Jesus, this, he is actually as good as he looks, and making it look really easy as well. He reminds me a small bit of Maurice Fitzgerald, the way he kind of glides around, and he always looks like he's doing everything at his own pace. And I think that's the sign in any sport of any great player like TJ Reid, or you can just keep naming it out in any sport. And look, he has it in spades. He's a pleasure to go. He's one of the few guys probably you pay money to go in and look at. But he's not just the show pony. I said he can do it all. He's actually deceptively quite big as well. When you see him up close, he's actually, Johnny said, physically a big man, and he's well able to look after himself. So it's not as a case that you're not going to go and intimidate him either, because it's just not going to happen. And he's such a really good temperament, and then to be able to do what he done at the end of the match the last day is pretty ridiculous, to be honest.
Special word with yourself, Ian.
Yeah, no, I agree with the boys. There's not much really else to say about Sean O'Shea. I think he's a remarkable footballer, young guy. I was interested to see him the last day in the first 20 minutes inside. He's elusive. He played when he played inside. Like the last day he played in a 2-man forward line for the first 10 or 15 minutes, himself and Clifford, which is frightening prospect really. But the way he could shift his body over and back. I saw him in the Sigerson actually against NUIG a couple of years ago at full forward. He's dangerous in there. Now, Jack O'Connor is known for a couple of curveballs, so it'll be interesting to see, does he start with Sean O'Shea inside again? He may put Clifford out of the way, because obviously everyone will be expecting Clifford to be inside. So, but look, Sean O'Shea is a remarkable player. He's an option for kickouts, as Maddie says. He's, and Johnny says he's all over the park. So, look, he's one of the many players that we have to look at stopping, but I don't think we're going to be going on any individual basis on Sunday. I think it'll be the collective, which I worry about, because our collective in the first half against Derry were creating opportunities against 15 men of Galway inside the 45. So we need to, hopefully we'll have honed in on the system. I don't think we'll be going in one-on-one with any of these guys. I think it's going to be a collective.
Yeah, Kev, just when we lost you there, we were just talking about Sean O'Shea and the strength and power of the man. He's going to be needed this Sunday.
Yeah, without a doubt. Sorry, guys, you lost me. But, like, Kerry are like, I suppose the best way to put it is the way that Matty and Johnny's described earlier on. They're like a virgin of the Playboy match. And, you know, they're ready to explode, you know. And how we get them to do that, I don't know.
Come on, Johnny, smile. That was a good joke. What's wrong, Johnny?
Because for
I'm
I don't know,
intrigued.
for a couple of years they haven't exploded in the way that we actually thought that they would. So I mean, you know, Shea, obviously the last day out he was magical. Clifford and Patches was magical. But then Paddy Clifford, yeah, he was very creative. But then we didn't see Sean O'Brien or maybe, you know, Paul Geaney coming into it, maybe David Moore. And so, look, Kerry, I think, are ready to explode. I think this is a very difficult game for Galway to go into. Really is. Yes, I agree that Sean O'Shea, in the question that you asked me, is key. But for me, the key man on Sunday is actually the opposite. Number 11 is Matthew Tierney. And the reason why I'm saying that is I think everything is stacked in Kerry's favour. Everything. They have all the aces. Both Finian and Matty rightly articulated. From the bench, they've got the better options. However, the big issue, and Johnny was talking about this, was the Paddy Tally factor and how that centre back folds inside and how then you utilise that centre forward, which in this case is Matthew Tierney. Now, if you even take yesterday's senior hurling final, twice or three times Declan Hannon dropped back and he looked great at times, you know, covering in and getting pucks. But when Kilkenny used the ball very, very short to Pádraig Walsh, he was able to pick off score at distance. And I think what will happen is that Matthew Tierney will be able to drop deep, pick up ball, and him running from deep is going to be very, very dangerous. So he's going to be, for me, you know, we'll talk about the middle of the park in a second or two, which is a big, big area. But for me, you know, we can talk all about the Kerry full back or the Kerry full forward line, the Galway full back line, the half backs maybe. He's going to be a particularly important player if Galway are going to have any chance. You know, forget about Comer, forget about Walsh. It's how they utilise him at centre half forward as that man that can drop deep, get on the ball into the game.
You there, Kevy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. You just paused there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's the big thing for me is Matthew Tierney. So Matthew Tierney is going to be the main man. In terms of if Galway are to have any chance. People are talking about Shane Walsh. I would actually disagree earlier on with Matty and again with the lads, and it's not often I do this, but I have to say to you that if I'm the Kerry manager, there's only one man for Shane Walsh, and it's Tom O'Sullivan. Because Shane Walsh is going to roam out, he's going to look for the ball. He's not going to get it quick and long in very easily, you know. Let Tom O'Sullivan out there. Tom O'Sullivan can come roam up the field. Let Tom O'Sullivan put him on the back foot. The Damien Comer is going to be Damien Comer is going to be very much like Rory McIlroy yesterday at the Open Championship. He's going to have to be very, very patient, and it's going to be very frustrating. I don't think there's going to be a lot of long ball coming into him in terms of that. So he's going to have to maybe reinvent his game. And again, the same with Rob Finnerty, maybe coming out, taking his man out for a walk in around 35, 40 yards, coming on the loop. You know, it's going to be really interesting to see how, you know, and I suppose I doubted Galway the last day against Derry. And in fairness, Finian said that Pádraig Josh would have a plan. And in fairness to them, the plan worked in a way it did. But they're going to have a mighty plan to break this down. And the first thing I'll say to you is, and the simplest thing about this match is, if Kerry get any sort of early foothold in this game is over. It's over. So Galway have to start like a raging bull. They have to have that intensity of the Limerick hurlers, of the Kilkenny hurlers yesterday. They have to turn over a ball. They have to get the crowd on their side. But for me, everything is stacked in Kerry's favour, and a lot has to do with how Galway set up, not only defensively but also in attack. You know, how they get that attack, how they get the shackles off Shane Walsh, how they get the shackles off Rob Finnerty, how they get the shackles off Damien Comer. But most importantly and most pivotal in this game for me is Matthew Tierney.
What do you think, Finian?
No, I'd agree with Kevin on the Matthew Tierney thing. I think Tyke Morley's been brilliant. I think, you know, Jack O'Connor has identified that from way out. Jack O'Connor knew all these guys, and before he even had his first meeting or training session, he had players ready to go into positions. And I think Tyke Morley I've seen him play loads of times as a marking cornerback, and I thought he was excellent. A little bit raw, but I thought he was excellent. And obviously Jack has seen his, you know, potential as that cute, smart sweeper. You know, I know we're not allowed to call anyone in Dublin or Kerry sweepers, but I'm going to throw it out there because they don't have sweepers, which is fucking bollocks. They're sweepers, you know, simple as that. Keane O'Sullivan's a sweeper. It's the same as what you have in Armagh, Galway, Derry, Donegal in 2012, Mark McHugh. Anyhow, that's another debate. But I just think the Matthew Tierney thing, I agree with Kevin, but I don't think Matthew Tierney's going to get the room, and I'll tell you why. Dara Moynihan is the big, you know, look at Killings Flan's on the bench, Tony Brosnan. They're on the bench for a reason, because Dara Moynihan gives you more of that work rate, and he gets chips in with a score. I think they'll go with Dara Moynihan on the weekend, because he will take the pressure off. Paul Murphy's going to start at wing back, I presume, ahead of Gavin White. But Dara Moynihan's going to fill in and do that nasty work on the likes of Matthew Tierney when he comes out. Like, you know, they have players like Stephen O'Brien isn't going to dog you, but that Dara Moynihan is an absolute dog, and he can score. He's a real all-rounder. And then if he gets tired, Miall Burns comes on, and he's another dog that you don't want to see, who can run all day. They're dangerous players, and they're not the players that are going to be, you know, the first name on the list in the Galway meeting room on Thursday night. You know, you're going to be talking about Clifford, you're going to be talking about Sean O'Shea, but those two guys can kill you in different ways. You know, they can stop a Matthew Tierney, they can hammer a Conroy, you know, and help a David Moran who doesn't have the legs. And I think they add significantly to this Kerry team, because we know they have the flair, but they've got those guys who can get back to allow Tyke Morley step off Matthew Tierney. So it's a big point, Kev. You're right. You know, if Matthew Tierney gets going and he utilises the space, but I don't think he'll get a whole pile of it. The Paddy Tally thing, you know, the boys have correctly mentioned. I suppose the big elephant in the room here is Paddy Tally was training Galway 3 years ago. And I don't think he left on the best of terms, to be honest. But he will know a lot of these guys. He'll know Shane inside out. And chatting to Damien and Paul and the boys, they had huge respect for Paddy Tally. Massive respect for what he did. Obviously, got to the league final, got to an All-Ireland semi-final against Dublin. We were super efficient in our defence, a lot more efficient than we are now. So, you know, he'll know a lot of the guys. Obviously, Keane O'Neill will know a lot of the Kerry guys. You know, are we looking at Kerry going with the Paul Ganey first 10 minutes of the 14 final, you know, inside for a long one? You know, so there's so much intriguing stuff. I think, you know, for the neutral, it'd be great to see Paul Conroy, Mark and David Moran. You know, I had a good chat with David Moran before about, you know, the types of players he respects, and Paul Conroy was the first man he spoke about. He loves Paul Conroy, and Paul Conroy, if you ask Paul Conroy in the morning who's his favourite player in the country, he'll say David Moran. And the reason for that is they're both kickbasters. They both want to kick the ball, and they're beautiful kickbasters, really traditional players. So that's a huge battle as well. You know, but look, as Kevin says, you know, it all points to a Kerry win, but it all pointed to a Kerry win. We played Kerry in 2008 in the rain, and, you know, they were going for 3 in a row, one of the greatest Kerry teams of all time. They had no right whatsoever to beat Tyrone that day. Tyrone were grand, but they weren't world beaters. And I just think, you know, when there's a chance, and it all comes down to our setup and how we set up. So if our defence clicks the way it did in the last couple of years, we'll say defensively, and we can get the transition going, and as the boy said, get our forwards into the right position, you know, we have a chance. We definitely have a fighting chance.
And just 2 points on that. Very firstly, yes, you have a chance, because Kerry, excuse my language, tend to shit the trunks when they're overwhelming favourites. We've seen that against Armagh in 2002. We've seen that, throughout, even, I suppose finishing against yourselves in what was the round robin. Then it came to be, the Super 8s, wasn't it? They done the exact same. They tend to have this big thing where it's overwhelming. Everything points to Kerry win this weekend, but Kerry have time and time again shit the nest, as you want to put it that way.
Do you think they did the last day, Kev? Sorry, just on that. Do you think they did the last day a little bit? It'd be interesting to get the boys' view against Dublin. Could you see the fear? There was a bit of fear there, like that.
Absolutely. I don't know if you watched it.
We want to win the next 5 and be fuck Dublin. We want to be Dublin, and they need to get over this first hurdle, and it's holding them a small bit. That's what I think.
Yeah, well, I'm fully on board with you, and I'm glad you asked me that question. I mean, I said this to Mally the last day out. Johnny wasn't on the last day, but I hope you listened to this. I think the better team lost the last day out. I think that Kerry, whilst they got ahead, let's be honest, Mourne and Clifford carried them. They carried them over that line. This at one stage looked pretty easy after maybe 13, 14 minutes. And all of a sudden, Dublin got into the game. Kieran Kilkenny missed a shot. Then he misses another one. Brenton Fenton misses 1 or 2 that he's never going to miss again. Yeah, I'd agree with you. They almost did the last day out. So there's still question marks about it. Yeah, what a mighty fray at the end. But listen, it was a big game for this Kerry team. But they still haven't won anything. And they're coming in here under a lot of pressure. And typically when Kerry come into these finals over the last 10 years, and the point I'm trying to make is they've fouled the talks. They've lost the plot, against Tyrone they've done it 3 times. Against Armagh they've done it. So
Dublin.
Yeah, well, once against Dublin. There's a lot to be said for it, So we're going in here, and it's a David versus Goliath in many ways. But David, in many times, Goliath has let himself down in many ways over the last couple of years. And the other point I was going to make to you, Finney, and I hope the boys will elaborate on this, is the first 10 minutes in this game is key for tactical reasons. If Kerry get any sort of foothold tactically in this game, I don't think Galway can go toe-to-toe with them. I don't think they can. So if Kerry get a goal, for example, inside the 8th minute, or to get 4 points up, Galway are going to have to come out of their box at some stage. So my point being, the first 10 minutes is just astronomically key for Galway if they are to win this game. Not for Kerry, but for Galway.
John, can I just jump in and say that I don't buy that at all, Kevin. I can see what you're saying by a couple of, you're talking about a team that's the most dominant in the history of getting to semi-finals, finals. You're going to have that. It's only natural. They're not going to win them all, and there's going to be days where it's going to fall apart, or for whatever which reason, and that's fine. But it's these new guys on the block. These are different. These are the guys that set a record at minor level.
But Johnny, they're not. My point to you is they're not, and the reason is, sorry, I'm not cutting across you. These are failures. I'm not trying to be a brawly here. These are failures. They've won everything at minor level. You're 100% right. Right? But they've done nothing at senior level in 4 years. Right? And the last day out, they were brilliant to start out with, and they harboured over the line. Right? And even if we go back to the great team of the O'Shea's and Darrow Canadians, I'm their biggest fans, as are you, as are Matty. But let's be honest here. When Armagh put it up to them, they lost the plot. When Tyrone put it up to them 3 times, they lost the plot. This is the great teams. Let's be honest, the great teams. Right? And then you have this team coming now. And bar Guinea and Murphy, I don't think anybody else has won All Ireland. So you can't turn around to me and say that, yeah, they get there every year because the system's crap. But these guys haven't done it. And that's why I said the last day out on this podcast, that was a kit for the ages. I think this was brilliant. Now, sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I want to make this point as a massive Kerry fan. These guys, thus far, in the history of Kerry football, are massive failures. have 9 between under 21 and minor All Irelands. They have 9, but they have no seniors. That's massive.
Yeah, but I honestly believe that you can, when these lads are 30 years of age, you can turn around with that statement and say they're massive failures. You know,
David Clifford will be 24 soon.
Yeah, he's still a child. He's a child.
He's no All Ireland medals.
David Clifford before he's 30 got a 5.
I doubt that.
You know what I mean? I know you doubt that. But these guys are coming of age, and they're coming of age together. A lot of deadwood in Kerry. A lot of stuff in Kerry that wasn't cutting the mustard. You know, they have the right management in place. You know, I'd say we probably just shot the runway a wee bit on Kerry, and I would say it probably, like you said it yourself, Kevin. You think after, if Gaul was not, don't get a good start, it could be under the pump. You know, like I just think from in your experience, I think it's probably a wee bit premature of their age. I do get what you're saying. The media put all the expectations on them, but they were still very young fellas coming in, and you don't win All Irelands that easy, you know. So,
I'm getting 18. Bogey Moore at 19.
I just think
these are the guys you're competing against. This is the Kerry I grew up watching. Kerry's golden years, reading the books. My dad saying, if you ever want to do anything at GA, throwing the book at you. Spillane left the All Ireland at 18. He had 2 by he was 20. Bogey Moore in the same. These guys, it was just in building them. These other guys, I don't know. The point, I understand what you're trying to say to me, Johnny. Pressure and whatever else. But you know what? If you get at them in the first 10 minutes, are they going to be the same gravy that we've seen Kerry in the last, I suppose, since the turn of the millennium? Collapsed against Armagh.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I just think that these young lads, or the Kerry team, say of Spillane's year, in that they didn't come up again a juggernaut that was the current Dublin team, or the Dublin teams that done 6 in a row. And I think there's no one here going to disagree that they're the greatest team to ever play football, because I think they're better than the Kerry and any of the Kerry teams of the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. So I think it goes without saying. So I think we discussed it after the semi-final. Like, the age profile of this Kerry team would be very similar to what Dublin started, the first one of their 6 in a row with. A lot of the age profile of the players will be around the same then. And I think once the 1-1, it was only a matter of taking off. Now, I'm not saying that Dublin or Kerry are going to win 5 of the next 6 or 5 of the next 8, but I do think they're going to start accumulating. And I think possibly getting that Dublin monkey off their back could be the catalyst to maybe kick on and really kick on, and maybe even start this Sunday, that you could see what it meant to him to win a semi-final. Galway got to the first final in over 20 years, and there wasn't as much hysteria as that, but it really meant something to this Kerry team to get that Dublin thing off their back. And I think, as I said, I just think it could be the catalyst for them to kick on, and I think to start that, maybe even to start it on Sunday. But the Kerry teams with the O'Sheas and Darrow Canada, and you keep going, Mike, Frank, Ruskell and the Gooch, I think they kind of maybe had a little bit of a sense that they would beat anyone, regardless, that the tactics and defensive systems and all that has come into it. And fair play to Jack O'Connor, who seems to be one of the best coaches in the country, who noticed straight away, right, we need to do something with our defence, and I think they have done something really positive with it. And they've added that bit of steel to it. Look, we've said this, and look, it'll only be decided, it'll only be next Monday even when we're talking about it, we'll know whether it's worked or not. But I to be honest, I would agree with Johnny here wholeheartedly that I think it's very hard to judge him at this stage. We would have been saying the very same thing about Dublin around 2011, 12, somewhere along there. 13, 14, even the 1-1 since 95, and then come along and win 6 in a row. And I wouldn't rule them out winning another one either at this stage. But I just think if Kerry don't get over the line, and in 4 or 5 years' time, they have 1-2 All Irelands in the meantime, I think then we can say maybe potentially that they're a bit of a failure. But I do think it's a bit harsh on them at the moment, because I think they have to start somewhere. This team has been, I would say, a little bit in transition from the likes of the O'Sheas finishing, Peter Crowley, you can keep going, several more players, and I think they now kind of have their own identity and their own team, and I think Sunday will tell an awful lot about this team and where they're going to.
What do you think of that, Kev? What's that? Has that put manners on you?
No, get another beer in your son.
No, that's fair enough, but Johnny and Maddie say, I fully respect their opinions, but I mean, for me, the last point that he stickles with me and that Manny made is that, you know, their identity. That's not Kerry's identity. Kerry's identity is they're really ready to bust. And, you know, at the minute, they've been very defensive this season. And it's really, I suppose, that's the one thing tickling in the back of my throat about this week coming in. I really want to see how Kerry are going to set up against Galway. You know, I want them to go in the offensive. I want them to slam Galway in the first 10 minutes. Finney, and I'm not just getting at you on that. I'm just saying I want them to do that because Kerry have the ability to do that. But as I said to you when I spoke to you at the beginning of last year, I always thought Tally was a bad move for Kerry football. And I still do.
Ah, come on.
I'll stand by that.
Can we end the podcast on that?
Stop. Kev, give over.
For me, it was always a bad move.
Remember he said that at the start of the year and I laughed at him, but I'm still laughing at you.
They've only lost the game
Johnny, I'm sticking to it. Do you remember I said that, Johnny?
Yeah.
He told, he was saying, but that
I'm sticking to my principles on it because he's so un-Kerry, like it's unreal. They have adopted the tactics that other people beat them with instead of sticking to their own. Do you understand where I'm coming from, Matty?
I do, but I disagree with you completely because it's not as if they're playing with 13 guys behind the ball or anything like that. They're still trying to play football. I just think they've added a harder edge and a little bit more steel to their one-on-one defending, particularly. Do they get guys behind the ball? Of course they do. The same as Dublin do. The same as every other team do. But you could not see that they've noticeably gone very, very defensive and get a lot of bodies behind the ball. I just think they're working a hell of a lot harder and probably a lot smarter, that they're being coached really well in defending and particularly one-on-one. And it's like we even spoke about, and Johnny said, I think you may have been off. You may have been off there at that stage, but like even Sean O'Shea, the number of turnovers that he gets in a game, and like turnovers from forwards are absolute gold because that's where goals come from. You turn over defender one-on-one as a forward, you're creating goal chances, because in the modern game with all these defensive structures, it's actually very hard to create goal chances. You look at Derry the last day, they created one half chance and got a goal, but other than that, like Kerry hardly created a decent goal chance the last day. Dublin hardly created a decent goal chance. So turnovers are gold, and I think it's actually what Paddy Tally has done to Kerry's actually enhanced them. And I think had they got him over the last, I wouldn't say last 4 or 5 years, but some of the teams against the likes of the Tyrones that time, I think they would have a few more All-Irelands under the belt, to be honest.
When he was with you, this is a serious question now, Finney. When he came in, you obviously played under with him with Galway.
No, I was gone. I just left.
You were gone, but the feedback he gets from him, he's quite a negative coach. Like, Matty, I was able to see him. Johnny, you know this. I was able to see him up here with St Mary's University College, the Rants, right? And to be honest with you, he didn't have a great pick, very, very small pick, right? 3 or 4 marquee players, but the way he played always made them competitive. So that's the reason why I'm saying it. I just don't think typical Kerry way. I just think he's taking them a different direction that I don't like. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's funny, I suppose in Galway the feedback was he only lasted a year in Galway in 2018, a successful year. One of the most successful years we've had since 01 was 18, and Paddy Tally was a big factor, but I don't think it ended quite well. And I think he's quite a domineering character, you know, and Kevin Walsh was involved and he was quite a domineering character as well. And, you know, Jack is a funny enough fish. You know, I've met Jack a few times. He's you know, he'll tell you, he won't ask you, he'll tell you what's happening. So, you know, I kind of agree with Kevin in regards to the longevity of this project. Do you know what I mean? I think this could be a quick fix to get the first one done. But, you know, I don't know, is it going to last 4 or 5 years? But I do think, you know, the Kerry players themselves are looking at Dublin and they're pissed off, and they're looking at the 4 in a row, 5 in a row, 6 in a row. I actually think they're thinking that in their heads. If they get over Sunday, they can go on, Johnny says, and then the Dubs over the next couple of years.
Johnny?
Yeah, I've nothing. I think Finian hit the nail on the head. I think he could be right. that Paddy might be there that long. I think maybe a year or two. Listen, we've had him up in cross lots of times. You just see what he brings to the table. He's big on turnovers, big on swarming. That's his game. But look at if you think back to some of the Kerry teams over the years too that won All Irelands, there's a lot of steel in defence as well. There's a lot of boys rough and tumble you, and they definitely the old myth that the Kerry love to play football and very clean. Tell you some boys get through you for a shortcut. So I don't buy that. I think Kerry needed a defensive coach in there. They needed a damn good one. They needed a lot of steel. They were leaking a lot of goals. He's tidied all that up. And if Kerry weren't scoring heavily, I would say there's an issue. Although putting a lot of men behind the ball, but lads are still in some games are still shooting the lights out. So I can't see a problem. I think it's a happy medium. Yeah. At the end of the day, they're in an All-Ireland final where they wanted to be at the start of the year. They're in the exact position they want to be in. And no offence to Finian, but they're probably playing one of the exact teams they wanted to play in it. And that's no disrespect. It's just an underdog that's come from nowhere. So, the only thing for me, Kevin, I would add, you said about Armagh in 2002. Armagh had been knocking on the door for a good few years before that. Couldn't get over the line. A few semi-finals come up short. Gained a lot of experience. Big, able, physical team. Galway, like we said at the start of the year, for me, they were very Jekyll and Hyde. When they're on, they're seriously on and seriously good to watch. They have a lot of talent, and they're very inconsistent. They've got that together, which is great. It's quite possible Galway might need another year or two. That's the only thing for me.
I suppose, Johnny, I didn't articulate the Armagh point as well as the other point well enough. What I'm trying to say is, them Kerry teams had an abundance of talent, outrageous talent, and still do now to this modern day. But other teams were better set up, better systems. I don't think that Armagh team, man on man, in 2002 was as good as the Kerry team that particular year in terms of skill wise. But they were better set up. They were a better unit. They were a better team. And I suppose now when we look at things, I think Kerry are a decent team. But there's still a lot of individualism in it. And I suppose the Tally issue I should have articulated better is that they've sold their soul for a sausage roll. They'll take this year and they'll win in All Ireland and they'll be happy with it. But as Finian said, down the path, is this what's going to be Kerry football? Is this what's going to be accepted? They have now said we have to do this. We have to win it better than anything else. So they've sold their soul. And that's what I'm trying to articulate about the Tally issue. He's never, the day and hour that he went in there, as somebody that knows him from coaching, I never seen him as the proper.
And you don't think there's any chance that he maybe over the years, or is it lots of experience that he has, lots of different areas, that maybe he's evolved himself as a coach?
He's always evolving. I mean, Paddy Tally's one of the smartest, from what I've been led to believe. I've met him a few occasions. Guy that watches a lot of stuff, evolves a lot of stuff, educates himself a lot. But, I mean, if there was a sunny day coming, Paddy Tally would still reckon it was -1. He's a negative person in terms of his football and philosophy. Not as a person, but his philosophy is negative. Stop the other team before articulating how good you are.
Can I ask you this? Can I ask you if Paddy Tally had been with Kerry in 2002, would they have beaten Armagh?
Definitely not. Definitely not. I think the biggest problem with Kerry that day was they weren't expansive enough. And if you watch the 2003 final, And you could have used many other issues, Manny, but in that particular area, if you watch the 03 final, Tyrone exposed McGuinney massively. Brian McGuigan that day, I think, gets 2 points from play, and man of the match that day was Kevin Hughes. And what they did was, what I'm saying to you about Kerry right now is, about Galway is, McGuinney dropped into that pocket. At that particular stage, Brian McGuigan dropped out. He was in control of the ball a lot, and they had an overload. I think Kevin Hughes, if you want to check this out, Kevin Hughes got man of the match that day and kicked 4 points from play, 3 or 4 points, right?
Yeah.
Is that right, Johnny?
Yeah,
because
they
exposed McGuinney. They exposed McGuinney dropping into the hole, right? They didn't kick the ball in long. They ran the ball at them. McGuinney wasn't able for it, but the Armagh defence wasn't able for it that day. And they overloaded the far side, and all the time it was Hub Hughes coming through, kicking a point. And what I'm saying is, if Tadhg Morley's dropping in there on Sunday, what Galway need to do is not kick the ball long, not the Paul Conroy that we've heard from Finian about, or not, Damien Comer demanding the ball in there, is run the ball, run it through, get it into that honey pot, 35 yards out, knock it over the bar. And that's exactly what happened in 2003 when Tyrone were able to expose Armagh's system.
To be fair, like any team that leaves McGuigan running loose around Croke Park, it's kind of it's good enough for him anyway. But I know no disrespect to Matthew Tierney, but I think he's a completely different player to McGuigan. McGuigan was your old Kieran MacDonald, Pádraig Joyce type centre forward who wants to get his head up and get the ball from A to B as quick as possible. I'm not sure Tierney is that kind of a player. I think he's more of a Johnny Heaney, Paul Murphy, that kind of a player who will go up and down all day and will break up tackles and break up attacks and that kind of thing. But I would have more. I wouldn't be as worried, shall we say, about leaving Matthew Tierney in probably a bit more space as I would have Brian McGuigan, because McGuigan was one of the best players of our era in that position, if not the best. And I think they're two different type players. But look, it's interesting. It's probably maybe an argument for another day.
I'm not saying they are, but what I'm saying is Owen Brosnan was that player for Kerry. McGuinney dropped off Brosnan in 2002 to protect that full back line that was fragile. Of course it was, of the two McNultys and maybe Francie, against a very good Kerry full forward line. So it was Owen Brosnan who, to me, was an excellent footballer, brilliant athlete, good brain on him. I'm not saying he was as good as Brian McGuigan, but, you got to have a guy in that pivotal role at 11 that knows when that guy's going back in, give me the ball, don't kick it in long, give me the ball short, let's run it through the hands and pick them off at 35 yards. And I think that's what Galway are going to have to do this weekend. I think that's what Tyrone beat that Armagh system in 2003 with. Armagh came to the table with a brilliant system. They were a great team. They beat in my opinion, a better Kerry team all around in terms of talent, but Armagh with a better team in terms of system. They beat that system. They looked at the system, they seen how they penetrated that system. And I think that's what Galway are going to have to do this coming Sunday. Look at, where Tadhg Morley goes. Don't kick the ball out long to Comer. You have to tell Comer to be patient. Paul Conroy as well is going to have a big game from the middle of the park in terms of coming through. So, in terms of tactics, Matty, that's my point about Matthew Tierney and why he's so vital this weekend, because he will get time and space. And it's about the options then that he takes. And, when we look at players back in the history of our game, whether it be Darrow Canada, who was a genius at 11, or, Owen Brosnan or Brian McGuigan, as you rightly mentioned, even back to the 90s, Greg Blaney.
Declan O'Sullivan.
Yeah, Declan O'Sullivan. But everybody else in the play, they were the dictators of the pace of the game. And I think Matthew Tierney will get the freedom on Sunday, but it's about the options he takes.
Would I be the only one to think that there could be an option of putting Paul Murphy on Shane Walsh?
No, I don't disagree. I think Gavin White could, for pace, he probably would have lined up with him. I think Murphy's a dog. He's a very clever player as well. He's played a lot in the sweeper role, Johnny, over the years, but Yeah, I see that being a matchup. Shane's going to be deep. He's going to be out the pitch. He's not going to be in around the goal. So, Murphy can, Murphy doesn't mind doing that dogging job. And when he gets the turnovers, he never gives the ball away. He's very, very clever. Murphy's 29 or 30. He's a very experienced player as well. So you're right. I think that's definitely an option. Obviously with Tadhg Morley's got a job to do. Are they bringing out a Graham O'Sullivan or, Brian O'Begluk could go on him as well. He's got, he's quite quick. You're going to need legs. McCluskey the last day just had the legs on Shane. He just fucking dogged him everywhere he went. I was on the 21 on the Hill 16 side, and with one stage Shane comes down the pitch. He didn't even look at the ball. He just had him and he shepherded him out. So Paul Murphy maybe not on height because Shane is quite tall as well. So that could be a mismatch for maybe kickouts or something like that. So they might look at that, and maybe that's the only reason that they don't go with it, Johnny.
I think it's an easy one for me. It's Tom O'Sullivan all day long on Shane Walsh. When he roams out the field, you've got to put the gun to Shane Walsh's head and say, you got to defend too. Tom O'Sullivan will get forward. For me, it's Tom O'Sullivan all day long.
Yeah, and Shane can't mark. Like he's the last, as Paul Conroy tell you, he's the last person you want back in that one-on-one. We saw a couple of years ago he got caught as the last man against Roscommon. He just can't. He's not a defender. Now he's improved a little bit, but in the heat of battle on Sunday, he's not going to be the man you want. In a one-on-one position in our own half back line, we need him. Saving his energy going forward. So, I agree.
The other big one, Johnny, I was going to say, Matty, I don't know. And I was sort of surprised Derry didn't do this more, was the big long ball into the Galway defence. I think that obviously Galway goalkeeper is quite susceptible there. Sean Kelly, I don't know, Finian, you'd be able to tell me better, isn't overly big. I'm not too sure about Silk, but if you watched Kerry, the first long ball that went in against Dublin into that full back line, we spoke about Matty beforehand. It was quite small. They got some, got some joy off it. And when you have Clifford in there, maybe Paddy Clifford, David Clifford and Paddy Clifford in there, that's something maybe Kerry would be thinking about as well, as a long ball in there as well as best goalkeeper.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I could see if Kerry went to throw in, David Moore launching that ball. It's very similar to what Armagh done against who was it? Who did
Donegal?
Donegal, exactly. In the qualifier, so something similar to that, and probably it mightn't be the last time it happens during the day because there was all sorts going on in that Armagh game with high ball, long high diagonal ball going in, and it's not just there it happened with the Derry goalkeeper, but I mean they're a nightmare ball for defenders. They're coming in so quick. You have 2-on-2, you have 3-on-3, and they're a half break either way, and it's a goal because you have defenders up in the air. Can't defend. So I think you could see maybe a few going in on either side if I'm being honest, because they're not going to be shy about throwing a few in on top of Comer at some stage either. But they're balls that's caused problems to a lot of defences all year, and I think we haven't seen the last of them for this year either, and there will be a few the weekend, and I think maybe possibly on either side from the throw-in. The first ball could be for look at hell with it and get it in there as quick as you can and see what happens.
I think our full back line, Matty, they sound strange, but I think our full back line, they're real footballers. Sean Kelly is a driving forward footballer. He's a wing back and midfielder. He's been put in because Sean Mulkern has a cruciate. Do you know what I mean? Sean Mulkern would be the full back. Sean Kelly's the best attacking player that we have, really, to go forward. You saw his goals in Sigerson, things like that. He's absolutely phenomenal. Jack Lynn is a footballer. He's quite small. Liam is probably our most natural corner back. But the thing about it is they're all footballers. And look, when you're in there, if I'm in there, I'm a lesser footballer, a shittier footballer. So I have to use myself in different ways, get a break. I think, right, how do I get the fucking thing out of here? Whereas these boys, the ball goes up in the sky straight away. They're thinking, well, I'm a footballer, so I'm going to catch this. And in the full back line, that is not always. If I'm marking Matty forward inside in the full forward line, and I'm a natural footballer, I'm thinking, well, I can catch it, and Matty's going to catch the ball. He's going to turn me inside out because he's a much better player. So I've got to think, right, hedge my bets. Let's just get it away from the goal at least, or break it out. And I don't think our three fullbacks have that in their heads all the time. Now, maybe they've worked on it. I just saw against Armagh, there was a lot of lads looking up at the sky and the ball coming down thinking, I might catch this. You're not going to catch it in a cluster anyhow. So they need to change that and fucking start nailing lads coming out, punching the ball. The goalie needs to come and let fly a few times and let them know that they're there. And they haven't done that to date because they're thinking, right, I can play ball here. And it's not the place for ball players. It's, at times it's the place for shittier players like me who just want to fucking dog the ball out.
Yeah, but like with absolutely, of course it does. But with every team now being so structured and all the games being so possession based, many teams are actually practicing defending with high balls coming in and already in on top of them. I can guarantee you there's none of them. So when it is happening games, they don't know what they're doing. And by the very nature of them, it happens when you have a 2-on-2 or a 3-on-3 in there. If you have 4 or 5 extra defenders, like Galway were never going to do this against Derry in the first 15 or 20 minutes or the first half hour of the match because, it was a sea of red and white were coming out with the ball and they didn't. But I mean, when you get 2-on-2 and 3-on-3s, that is the time to do it because you are never going to get any better than that. You're not going to have a situation where you have 4 forwards and 3 defenders. That's not going to happen. So the best you can get is 2-on-2, 3-on-3, whatever like that. Lorry it in and see what happens. Worst case scenario, you lose the ball, you're 140 metres from your own goal, and there's plenty of time to get, and lots of bodies behind the ball. So, and look at it, said it's caused absolute consternation all year in defences up and down the country. It doesn't matter who it is because I said no teams are defending, practicing big high balls into their defence like that. And look at plus, you just can't get guys back and quick. The ball will travel 10 times quicker than any guy from the halfway line. So, you get a long kick in there, and it's causing trouble.
Yeah, and like going back to that game in 2008, that we spent the week. I was picking up Donaghy that day, and it was fucking Tom O'Shea with a nightmare to play against because all he did was long ball in the game. I spent the whole day just boxing the ball. It was just a wrestling match for the whole day. And the week before that, we practiced that because obviously we knew that was their main option that year. They were getting a lot of results out of it, and because of the size of Donaghy, that was it. I spent the whole game 10 yards behind him and just running and climbing on his back, fucking getting a hand in, trying to get it away from him because if he got a catch and a scoop was coming, and Donaghy's so quick on the hands, but like obviously the game has changed a lot. Now that was in 50 meters of open space. There was no 5 and 7 tucking in or anything like that. That was just fucking the best way of doing it. But it's just in the head that I agree with Matty. It's just in the boys' head that if they can start thinking we've got to win these battles now on Sunday in a different manner than just kind of, it's not all about attacking. And I know that's the way the game has changed, but they might need a few traditional alerts on Sunday.
Jeez, lads, it's breathtaking stuff. It really is. It really is. Johnny Murtagh, who's going to win and what players are going to get the victory for that particular team?
Yeah, well, I think I've probably said it right that Kerry's going to win. I think if the Ferrari pours, they could do it very, very convincingly, and it could be in for an onslaught. But I would say Kerry win anyway. And I think yet again you're going to see the two Cliffords, and you're going to see Shawnee O'Shea, and you're going to see a couple of good performances in defence. But I don't know. They don't seem to want to give Shawnee O'Shea a man of the match, but I'll tip him again to get it and see how that goes.
Class act, my man. Class act. Mr. Hanley.
You have to give me a head and a heart both, don't you? I don't want to sound stupid. No, look, it's all roads lead to a Kerry victory on the basis of what they've done, where Galway have come from. We talk about structures. Kerry have got that structure in place, and they're there on merit. Galway are there, relegated last year, bet well by Mayo. All of a sudden they're in the final. So, we've nothing to lose. I just, I remember going back to that game in 08, Jason Ryan coming in before the game and saying, Jason Ryan was the manager at the time, Matty, isn't that right?
Yep.
You just bet Armagh and come in. He said, look, don't give a fuck for these guys. You've nothing to lose. These boys are going for 3 in a row. And, the pressure is on them. And you could feel the pressure because coming up to that game, it was like, can Kerry do the 3 in a row? And obviously they lost the final by a point and they didn't do the 3 in a row. But that was a big thing in Kerry at the time, was this great Kerry team of the 2000s doing a 3 in a row. And, you could feel the pressure on them in the game because they were 8 or 9 points up. And halfway through the game, PJ and Mikey started getting the ball rolling and we started creeping back in. Then we were 3 up, missed a penalty, hit the crossbar to go 6 up, blah, blah, blah. Obviously we lost in the end, but you could feel that pressure. We weren't a great team at the time, but as I said, Jason Ryan came into the dressing room before the match and said, look, lads, this is, these boys are under pressure. And I feel there is a bit of that on Sunday. And if we can ask enough questions, I'm not saying we're going to win, but I'm saying we'll be a lot closer than people think. But look, the head says Kerry should win this game scientifically, but you know, I'm hoping for a few mistakes and a couple of bad calls, and you know, we'd have a great race week next week. You're all invited. I've one bed in the attic for the laddie boys, and you can all stay in it.
Kev's going to spoon with Johnny.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Cross border,
help Johnny.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yeah, 3 quick points. Kerry win. If Galway have any chance, 2 vital players have to be Tierney at centre forward, and I think Johnny Daly at centre back. You know how he addresses where he drops back into. And I suppose the third major point is that I think Galway will have a plan for Kerry's bigger players, the Shawnee O'Shea's, you know, David Cliffords of this world. I expect Paul Geaney, maybe Darren Moynihan, maybe David Moore to pick up the slack. I suppose the third point I'm trying to make is I don't expect our man of the match or player of the match to be somebody obvious. I think Kerry have a lot of reserves. I think Galway will have a decent plan for them, but I think Kerry have too much in terms of the quality they have all over the park, and maybe like he's had a mediocre season, like Geaney, who's so much talent in him. Maybe Paddy Clifford to throw off the shackles this Sunday. So my view is Kerry will win.
Matty Ford.
No, look, I do think Kerry will win. I think the Dublin Monkey after back, I think they're absolutely under pressure, of course. They have to win if nothing else is good enough here. I do absolutely give Galway a fighting chance, but I think Kerry will win. And I think it could be the day that they actually open up, maybe not too dissimilar to Limerick yesterday, but I'd be thinking more along the lines of something like maybe 3 to 6 points. And like it's probably fairly obvious and fairly boring, but I think like Sean O'Shea has just had such an impact on all the games this year that have been tight and pretty close, and like he's free taken alone, but I think he's just been, to me, been showing footballer of the year form for the last 3 or 4 weeks, last 6 weeks maybe. And I think he'll have a massive say. And like if we're talking about maybe John Daly dropping off a bit, you know, of all the players that will play on Sunday, he's not one fella you want to be dropping off and leaving too much space. And look at that, the same probably goes on the other side. But I probably can't see past Kerry, particularly if we get a good dry day. But look, here's hoping for a cracker of a football match. I said we probably need it after the hurling excellence yesterday. So you know, it'll be a good way to end the championship.
I have a funny feeling about Galway this weekend, lads. Any more points, or are we happy enough?
Can we put a GPS on Finian Hanley and put it up on the internet for the next week and a half?
His heart's going. He's getting nervous looking there, isn't he?
Shh, the wife's downstairs. If she hears all the going out of the club. I'm a trip to Edinburgh in the pipeline, Kevin. We'll have the team up.
Call me if Kerry win. I'll definitely have you over.
All right, yeah. Next week, lads, you could do worse. Anyhow, if we get over the line, you could do worse than come over this side. But anyhow,
Jesus.
Finian Hanley, we wish you all the best. I know we've mad Kerry fans in this group, but Mr. Hanley, I hope you have a great weekend, my man.
We might see you up there, boys.
Yeah, he's going. It's Matty. You going, Johnny? Matty, you're going, yeah?
I'm at the moment. I'm trying to get a ticket for me. One of my nephews has gone out with a girl from Tuam, so I'm trying to get my hands on a ticket for her. She's wants it worse than I do, so if I get one for her and get one for myself, I'd go all right. But I'll try and get her sorted first anyway.
Jesus, Matty, it sounds like something out of a saw Dr. Sean. My nephew's going out with somebody from Tuam.
She was just off the N17, Kev.
Off the N17. You can get them on Ticketmaster.ie apparently.
On Thursday.
Thursday morning. Yeah, Thursday morning.
Are you coming over, Kev?
No, in fact, I tell you, I would love to come over for a Kerry final, but only a traditional one, Finn. You have to win 2 or 3 more yet before it's traditional.
Before you see Kev.
I'll come over for a Tyrone one.
Oh God, right. We'll say no more before we all get in trouble. Finney and Hanley, have a great weekend. We wish you all the best. Lads, thanks a million for joining me tonight. Of course, this podcast is brought to you by orgarich.com and Atak.ie. Use promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on orgarich.com. Get best skins, gloves, equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. Well done, lads. None of us melted. It's absolutely boiling out there still. But anyway, lads, Manny Ford, Johnny Murray, Finney and Hanley, Kevin McGurdy, thanks very much.
Cheers, lads. Best luck.
Best luck,
guys. Talk to you then.